Bryan, thank you so much for having me in your home here for this podcast. I'm really pumped about it. I just wanted to highlight to the listeners, honestly, how cool of a dude you are, because we met at Odyssey, what was it, like 3 or 4 years ago, when I was selling some merchandise for them at Windjammer. And then I started this podcast about 9 months ago, DM'd you about 2 weeks ago. I said, hey, man, you might not remember me. We met one time at Odyssey. Here's what my podcast is. You'd be perfect for this episode. And you were just open arms like, hey, for sure, let's do it. Here's the time. Come over, park outside. And I think to the listeners, before you even get to tell about yourself, I think that just highlights, how cool of a positive guy you are and what you're doing in your works right now. So thanks.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. Likewise, back to you. You're an unforgettable dude, and your positivity, resonated with me. And then when I saw what you were doing, I was happy and excited to take this opportunity to share a little bit about BDVibez.
Yeah, I'm really pumped to be here. I know everyone that's listening is definitely going to get a lot out of this episode. So before we go into this, what are some things that you would like the listeners to know about you?
Just personally, I was born and raised up in the D.C. area, moved around quite a bit, North Carolina, Alabama, South Carolina, back to North Carolina, and then settled back in Charleston, South Carolina. 41 years old and happily married now. I have 4 kids, 2 of my own and 2 of my now wife. And we have a beautiful blended family of 6. So it's there's a lot going on for us.
Gotcha. I can see that with the stockings in your living room.
Absolutely.
So you moved around a lot, huh?
Fair amount, after graduation from JMU. Props to my Dukes. Hopefully they're going to win tonight. But for the job, you're trying to kind of figure out your path. You're in a land of unknown, and I wasn't one of those people who came out of college and knew exactly what I wanted to do. I think that's pretty much the majority of us. So I was kind of just trying to find my path. So, I did move around a lot, trying to search for that path, and, you never know what's going to happen to you. Here I am today.
Yeah. Did you have any fear of moving around? Because I know a lot of people graduate college and they I'm moving to Atlanta and I'm going to stay there for 20 years. Or were you really open to it?
Well, when you look at kind of the DC area, and there's no knock against that area because my family is still up there, but there's a lot of pressure up there. Everything revolves around money, and it just wasn't my vibe. It was not my vibe. Even from a young age, I remember I was a coastal person. I was like the only person in high school that was surfing and into the ocean. And up there, it's just very materialistic, which is totally the opposite of who I am. So I kind of always walked to the beat of my own drum. So I didn't have any reservation of leaving that area. The traffic was miserable. Cost of living was terrible. And quite honestly, man, it was just hard to develop really good friendships. I had one dude who was my guy.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it, So I didn't have any reservation of moving.
Yeah.
Or fear.
How was that mindset of, being the outlier at the time and not fitting in with everybody else? You were that lone wolf surfing out there. I mean, what was that like?
I mean, there's in high school, and even in college or whatever, there's these cliques. And, I was never really a part of that one particular group. I played basketball in high school, lacrosse and tennis, and so I was in those mixes, but I don't know. I just did my own thing, and I never really cared. I never let of course, you get bullied or, you get stuff said to you or whatever, but I never really cared about it. I just didn't care. I don't know,
Dude, yeah, I've noticed that about you the first time we met at Windjammer because, everyone's sitting there eating. It was before the bar started kicking off, and I remember you're just some shirtless dude with the hats handing them out. What's going on? One of the loudest people in the room, which I think you need to be when you have your own company.
Right.
But I feel that, from right there, I was like, okay, this guy doesn't care about other people's opinions. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, you really, there's a time and a place. Obviously, professionalism is important when you need to be professional, but in terms of being everybody needs to be themselves. I think actually there's a good thing that's going on, in our country. I think worldwide is that individualism is being celebrated, which is great. Then there's the flip side to that where, the comparison's going on and everyone's comparing each other's lives and to everybody else's lives through through a news feed or through social media, you know, and that's the good part of where we are at today. And then there's the bad part.
Yeah. How can you think people can stop, you know, caring so much what people think? Because I've gotten to a place that I wasn't always at, but now I really don't care about people's opinion. But I used to maybe 3 or 4 years ago, especially when I first got into college.
Yeah.
So like, what are some steps you think people could do?
I mean, I do believe it's about the people you surround yourself with. And that inner strength is imperative. It's a lot easier to talk about, oh yeah, you know, be strong and have the inner strength. But at the end of the day, you'll find that strength with the people that you surround yourself with. Hopefully you have, you know, a parent or parents that supports you no matter what. So whatever, whatever gender you're attracted to or whatever field that you want to get into, or wherever city you want to move to, they're supportive. I mean, I think that's really important. And then going into it, it should be the same way with your friends. And I think people need to be really selective with who they hang with. I still hear stories, man, of some of these friends that are just like, you know, they say one thing and do another. And I mean, like at some point, you know, you have to realize that's not a friend, you know? So parents are important and friends are important, you know, work colleagues, you know, anybody who you surround yourself with, they've got to be, you know, they got to be supporters.
Yeah.
So,
dude, at what point do you think that you just have to cut people off cold turkey? Is there a certain line they cross and you're like, nope, they're done, or?
It's a good question. I think I'm quicker to cut people off cold turkey. I really do. I think I just don't tolerate it anymore, because there's so many people out there. And, you know, people always say like you attract your tribe and all that stuff. So, you know, if you feel that connection with somebody and you should be attracting your tribe, roll with it. But, you know, there's that old saying, it takes years to build credibility and seconds to lose it. That's the reality. That is life, man. So for every action, there's a reaction. And I think that's the same with friendships and, you know, relationships, really. You know, I mean, if you're really into it, you'll make conscious decisions and think about that other person.
Yeah. I mean, and you can think what you want of this, but look at Tiger Woods as a prime example. You know, was known always and still is as a great golfer. But, you know, the situation with what he did to his wife, and immediately his reputation's thrown out the window.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, that's just a prime example, I think, about
No, you're right. It's spot on, man. You know, and you could talk about examples like that, you know, until we're blue in the face. So, you're right. He's obviously on a different stage on a national level. But, you know, imagine if you're dating somebody for 3 years and they cheat on you. I mean, there you go. That's great that you've been so good to me for 3 years and then you cheated on me.
But everything's thrown out the window.
Yeah, but once that trust is broken, it's very hard to get that back.
I agree. So backing up a little bit, so you graduated from JMU?
Yeah, graduated from JMU, moved back in with my family. You know, I talked about having that one guy. I think everybody out there has that one person. And I had, you know, this one individual, Rich Kraft, who I identified with in college. He had actually moved from San Diego, California to high school. I met him in his freshman year. So he got, really bullied because he moved from San Diego. Yeah. Long blonde, you know, hair, great looking dude. So all the guys were obviously jealous of his appearance because all the ladies were, you know, they were
California guy.
Yeah, California guy, the new guy, right? So, but he was like my speed. So he and I were just, you know, you couldn't keep us apart. So, yeah, we were best friends, and he was actually supposed to move down to Charleston, you know, shortly after college, and never ended up making it. So,
wow, that's how BDVibez?
Yeah, so I mean,
yeah,
BDVibez. It's interesting. So BDVibez, if you back up about 8 to 10 years ago, so we're talking like 2010 ish. I had a sketchbook, and I would literally sit around and sketch out hats. Okay. I sketched out hats. Nothing ever came of it. You know, nothing ever came of it. Then you fast forward, and, you know, I had lost this individual, and that was the tipping point. Again, I didn't know how to channel all this energy. There was time periods I was angry towards him. I was frustrated towards him. I was sad. I was happy. I didn't, but all of this energy that I had to channel it some way. And then I experienced my own depression, and it was a combination of a few different events. That's what brought me to BDVibez, to make this hat company finally come to life. And call it BDVibez, which stands for Beat Depression Through Positive Vibes, and try to make, spread mental health awareness through hats. What better tool to use to spread mental health awareness than a hat?
Yeah.
So,
and I think too, just turning that situation, the unfortunate situation that happened to you, into a company that spreads positive vibes, spreads passion, just spreads hope for people, I think is really cool how you turned it into that.
Right.
And I know when we met at the Windjammer, when I was doing the work with Odyssey, I immediately just fell in love with the vision you had, because I was like, we sell O'Neill and Billabong and this, like, what's BDVibez?
Right.
And then immediately you're like, oh man, beat depression, here's why, here's what we're doing, da-da-da-da. And it was just like, I've never heard that much passion brought to a company, so that's really cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm super passionate about it just because, number one, I lost my best friend to suicide.
Yep.
And it was hard to relate to that. Anybody who has never gone through any sort of, mental health condition, it's nearly impossible to relate to that. But then when you fast forward, so about 2 years later, after he passed, I went through my own battle with depression, and I felt like I was walking in his shoes. So I understood exactly where he was in terms of the thought process. I mean, it's unfortunately it gets very dark, and to reverse course, once you start having those negative thoughts, to reverse course and walk back up that slippery slope, it's very, very difficult. So that's when I knew, once I got out of that state of mind. And it's a constant battle, man. It's not like it just, now one day I do believe like it clicked for me, but it's not like, I'm cured for life or something. It's still something I battle but that's when I knew I wanted to make a difference and spread mental health awareness, because it's getting out there more now, I think, because we've lost so many, of these famous actors, actresses, I mean, athletes, whatever, you name it, we've lost them. So that's unfortunately helped to get that and to hopefully erase some of that stigma around it. That's my passion now.
Yeah. Why do you think mental health and depression are just such problems now? I mean, where is this all coming from?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. But I do think, when you look at the rates of suicide, they're on a steady climb. It's the number 2 killer right now between the ages of 12 and 24.
Suicide is?
Suicide is.
And wow, that's
number
killing
2 killer.
yourself is the number. Wow.
And I mean, all you have to do is Google, 10-year-old. I mean, and it seems like these kids are doing it younger and younger. And I do believe there's a direct correlation between that and social media. I have to believe that. Bill Murray, who lives in Charleston, I mean, his quote is like, no wonder everyone is depressed, because all we do is compare each other on social media. You know? I mean, I agree with him 100%. So I don't think there's enough out there. Recently, there's been some changes with the Federal Communication Commission. I think we're moving in the right direction. They want to make, instead of 911 for emergencies, they want to make the number 988 the automatic dial to get help if you're suicidal. So, I mean, we're making strides now. But my goal in BDVibez is to spread mental health awareness and then give the money back to organizations that are on the front line trying to help, individuals.
Yeah. Do you think, so I've been fortunate where I've never suffered from depression, maybe seasonal depression of just sad in various parts of things happening in my life, but I don't think I've ever, fortunately, suffered from true depression. Is there like signs as a person that you can see of like, wow, I'm going down a slippery slope, or does it just kind of all come at once?
I definitely believe there's signs. I think it can come quickly, but there are signs. I mean, reckless behavior is probably the most obvious, whether it's excessive drinking or drug use and abuse. But then it can be totally the opposite with someone who doesn't want to, interact with anyone. So it just all depends. It is one of the four key principles that I bring up, and that's, if you do see somebody exhibiting, or observing characteristics that are outside their norm, to not be afraid to question that. I think that if we're all observant, then we can see different patterns evolve with individuals, and they should be red flags.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think some people are afraid to tell their friend, like, straight up, hey, you're going down a dark path, stop taking these drugs, you need to get some help? Why do you think people are afraid to do that?
They want to, I think they will, I mean, it's, again, just my opinion. I believe, one, that they want to maybe perhaps not believe that it's happening. Number two, they don't want to get involved. That was my experience. So I had all of these, quote, friends, when I went through a troubled time and they knew I was going through a troubled time, where they all went? They went away. They didn't pick up the phone. People don't want to be associated, and they don't want to get involved with people that are going through negative experiences. That's number one.
Do you think it's because do you think they think it's contagious? They're afraid that they're going to start being in a depressed state because you're hanging out with
literally
a
the
person?
Excuses I got, because I ended up calling all these people out fast. After I had, I'd see them, because once they didn't want to interact with me when they knew I was struggling, that was the end for me.
Yeah.
So then I see them out, and I say, I tell them, if they ever see somebody that's struggling or know somebody's struggling, they need to pick up the phone and see if they're doing all right. The number one excuse I got was I didn't want to be involved. I just didn't want to get involved. They just didn't want to get involved.
Wow.
They don't want to, everyone's in their own little life. They're in their own little world nowadays. That's it, and that's been my experience. They just didn't want to get involved.
Yeah.
So again, it goes back to surrounding yourself with people that aren't going to be scared to get involved and want to help. Those weren't friends. And so do I hang out with those people anymore? I don't. I don't hang out with them now. So.
And you mentioned earlier, you're quick to cut people off cold turkey if need be.
I mean, that was probably that was the biggest lesson that I learned when I struggled.
Yeah.
When I was really, down in a bad place, is that there was a couple people that that rose above. One being my family, my mom and dad and my sister, and the other people I would never expect. People that drove here from Columbia. Obviously, we're in Charleston right now. People that drove here from Columbia because they knew I was doing not so good. I'll mention him by name, David Gillum. He was a work colleague and wasn't even somebody I was like super close to, but we talked almost every day. And he drove here. He took me to Red's Ice House, actually RB's. It wasn't Red's, it was RB's. And he was the one who showed me the mirror. And it was that day when I when I turned that corner. So it was somebody completely, wasn't somebody who was my friend. It was somebody who showed me the mirror, told me I was better, gave me confidence, told me everything was going to be all right. He was grounded in faith. And he's the one who made me turn that corner.
Wow.
So,
and it's that one person that took the initiative that, ultimately changed your life at that moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've heard countless stories just talking about BDVibez out, at the Windjam or whatever else.
Yeah.
People have told me they've been at a gas station and they haven't been doing well. And someone smiled and just said, hey, is everything okay? Wow. And that was the one trigger that got them back on track.
Wow.
I mean, that's all it took. And everyone's different. I'm just using that as an example. That's why, another one of my my key principles is to be kind to everybody, because you don't know what they may show a smile, but they could be hurting.
Yeah.
And just by, saying, hey, how are you? Or smiling at them, that could be the trigger that gets them on the right track.
Yeah. So what, we looked up the statistics, like when we were off air a little bit, I think it was 300 million people suffer from depression.
Yeah.
So statistically, there's probably some people listening right now that are suffering from that based on my number of listeners and the stats and all that.
Right.
What are some, just strategies or things that these people could implement to ultimately stop sliding down the slippery slope.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, the first thing is that they're not alone.
Yeah.
You feel isolated. You feel alone. You're not alone. The second thing is to change your mindset. So something, and this is my experience, something has happened that has triggered this mindset of why is this happening to me? And they're in this, this kind of this mindset of negativity, or they can't see the light. But if they change that mindset to whatever happened, it could be maybe they lost a job, or they don't feel like they're successful, or the relationship's not going well, or they don't have a relationship and they want one so bad. That's a number of different things. But when you change that mindset to this is happening for me, instead of why is this happening to me, that's a huge. Now it's easy to say that, but you've got to have the ability to say that this is happening for me because there are greater things that are going to come from this. Hence, my situation. Lost my best friend to suicide. Why, and now I'm going to, Rich Kraft is his name. I mean, I'm going to make sure that he is remembered for all the great things he did. But then I went through my battle, and now we've given back over $37,000 back to the mental health community.
Wow.
And I've started a company, and all of those things I would have I wouldn't be a part of had I succumbed to depression. So all of those things, all those hurdles, whatever you want to call them, they all happen for, unfortunately, even the negative circumstances, losing Rich. I would hate to say that it happened for a reason, but I'm going to tell you that no matter why it happened, because I'll never have that answer, I'm going to use that as something, I'm going to draw the positive from that.
Yeah.
And use it as something to help others.
Like you mentioned, life happens for you.
Yeah.
Not against you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So this is kind of a spin-off question with, I'm a pretty positive dude.
Right.
That's probably why we're sitting here right now.
Absolutely.
And, bad situations are going to happen all the time. Whenever something bad happens to me and I get sad and I get negative, part of me feels bad for myself because I know that I'm better than that.
Right.
Do you think it's ever okay, if my friend passed away tomorrow, do you think it's okay to be like, I'm going to spend 24 hours just really sad about it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Rather than forcing yourself to be positive. How do you kind of
absolutely, man. I mean,
how do you not feel bad when you're in that sad state?
There's nothing wrong with having an emotion of sadness. There's nothing wrong with that. It's the extended period of time when it starts to rule your life and you start to have that tunnel vision. Sadness is an emotion, man. I mean, I still get sad all the time. I'm sad. I'm sad right now. I don't have my kids for Christmas. I'm not going to get to see my kids until Christmas afternoon. That makes me sad. Do I go to bed every night super positive thinking that? No.
Yeah.
But I also know that I'm going to do everything in my power that when I do get them, it's going to be the most amazing, day that I'll have. So sadness is something that occurs, and people should take whatever time that is to get through that emotion. But I think it's important that why they have that emotion to also almost internally check themselves that there's going to be a better end result to that emotion. That as tough as it may seem, you can't see the forest through the trees, that there is light at the end of the tunnel. No matter what happens, things do happen in an instant. Your life can be changed right now. You could be driving down the street, you could leave here and get in a horrible car accident. Who knows? Life can change in an instant. That's why you do need to be positive and relish every single moment we have here. That's really the reality, because life is so fragile and short. So we don't have time to be negative.
So
we don't have time to be negative. But being sad, man, sadness is an emotion.
Yeah. And I think, and it's okay to have that emotion because it's part of life, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think I'm just reiterating again on that life happens for you. I had a situation with myself where my tire popped. I was super pissed because obviously who wants to pay $150 for a tire?
Of course.
Went to Toyota. And they were like, oh, we're out of this tire. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Just obviously angry. That was the emotion I was feeling. And then ultimately had to go to Discount Tire. But when I went there, I met this guy, Lee Burgess, who I've had on 2 podcasts. And we're great friends now. And I would have never met that guy if that first situation of me running over a nail never happened.
There you go. You know, I mean, it's amazing what happens. And that's why you just have to roll with things in life. And again, it's very easy to say. It's taken a lot for me to learn that lesson because I'm an ultra competitive dude too. So when things don't go my way, I naturally, you know, I'm not happy about it. So you know, and I'm like, if on a competitive scale, I'm a 10, you know, so it's been tough for me to learn that I'm not going to win at everything.
Yeah.
But I have learned to roll with those things when things don't go your way because they're there for a reason. You know, it's going to unlock a better situation for you. So that nail that hit your tire, and now look what it unlocked. You know? So
yeah, I agree. Are you big into like positive affirmations at all? I meant to ask you that earlier off air, but
yeah, no, I mean, you mean just like giving other people positive,
like yourself of, you know, hey, I'm filled with energy. Today's gonna be a great day, or do you think that's kind of cheesy?
I mean, no, I wake up every day. Every day I wake up, man, I try to be positive.
Yeah,
that's it. I mean, it's just like the foundation, cornerstone of who I am. I mean, I'm not starting my day off negative.
Right.
That's it. I'm not going to do that.
Do you have a morning or like evening routine that you do that just kind of sets precedence for the day, or?
I don't.
I know it's tough with kids.
Yeah,
and stuff,
no, I really don't. I mean, I've talked about it and considered, hey, you know what? Let's go to bed and think about, you know, 3 or 4 great things. And I've said I was going to do that, but I'll be honest, man, I have never done that. But one thing I don't do is go to bed angry or upset. I try to get, if I'm upset or angry at somebody, I try to get that out before I go to bed.
Yeah.
I want to settle that before I go to bed. I don't like carrying that emotion into sleep.
Yeah.
So,
do you think if people were more straight up with people that some of this depression and mental health would be solved a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a straight up dude, man. That's the way it is, man. You get what you see. I'm not perfect. I have plenty of flaws. Nobody's perfect. But you know, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of arrogance out there. There is, you know.
Yeah.
But you can see it. If people observe other people, they can see the arrogance and just say, I'm not going to even associate myself with that, you know? And then there's the sarcasm. I'm a sarcastic guy, so people can probably view that as arrogant, but I'm not arrogant. I'm just sarcastic. But, it's an interesting question. I think, I just think that right now, I go back to social media, man, because there's just a lot of, I don't know, fakeness, if you want to call it that. I just think that there's just a lot of, it's a highlight reel is what we see every day. That's all it is.
And especially in the entrepreneurship space, like we are.
Yeah.
You view some 18-year-old kid that is in a Lamborghini and you're like, what the heck? But then little do you know, maybe if you do some more research, you realize that kid rented the Lamborghini. He's still living with his parents and he's 50 grand in debt.
Right.
So it's a big front and big highlight.
Well, let's talk about that. So let's look at BDVibez. Again, straight transparently. Would I love to have 50,000 followers on Instagram? Of course I would.
Yeah, for sure.
Could I go out and buy 50,000 followers right now and make it appear that I have 50,000 followers on Instagram? Mm-hmm. I could.
Yeah.
I can right now go online and purchase 50,000 followers so that you, the average consumer, can go on my Instagram and say,
"Oh, this
wow, BDVibez has 50,000 followers." In fact, I've had people who have told me that's what I need to do. BDVibez, even going into that company, people told me that I need to be set up as a 501(c), and I didn't do it like that because I want this company to become profitable. If you look at all these organizations out there, there are so many organizations that call themselves nonprofits. I mean, there are tons. I'm not going to name them right now, but there are tons. And when you look into them and you see the salaries that the CEOs are making, they're like $4 and $5 million, and they call themselves nonprofits.
It's insane.
It's literally, it's built for tax purposes. They call themselves nonprofits for tax purposes, and I understand that. But I make very little in profit. We've given back over $37,000 in 3 years. But what's my goal? My goal is to one day have this profitable and, this take care of my kids.
Right.
I mean, that's the goal. So I'm not going to set it up as some, fake, some other type of company to try to have a facade that I'm this, this amazing company when I'm going to pay myself $200,000 a year.
Yeah.
And that's what people do. And
Right.
I mean, I get it. I understand the tax purposes. I just turned down a donation a month ago. I just turned down a significant donation a month ago because I was not set up like that. And I actually, I forwarded the donation to a local company who I know is set up as a 501(c), who actually does a lot of really positive things with the money. So I funneled that to where I know is a really good organization.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, everything. That's what I mean. You can, dating apps, whatever you want to call it. Look at the company. You can falsify anything now.
Yeah.
Instagram, everything.
Oh, yeah.
It's all. So that's what's so hard for people to understand and to see what's the truth and what's and what's not the truth.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
Do you think there's ever gonna when's it gonna end?
I don't see it ending.
Yeah, me neither. I see it getting worse.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I mean, you got to just surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah.
It goes back to that again. So,
do you think there's a limit? Because I think social media can be very bad, but also for business, it can be good to actually build up your company, sell your product.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a limit people should spend per day, per week on it, or how?
No, I mean, I think social media is good and bad. I think social media can be really good.
Yeah. But if you use it in the wrong way, just like anything.
Yeah,
else,
just like anything. Yeah, I mean, I think social media is amazing. What an amazing tool. I mean, just keeping in touch with people, keeping connected with people, business-wise, entrepreneurial speaking. I mean, I don't have any brick and mortar. I mean, 70% of my sales come from online. And it's amazing the correlation when you make a post and your sales. It's a direct correlation. So social media is a great tool. I try to go, there's a lot of posts that are about, they're making fun of people and again, the highlight reel. So I try to keep it even keeled. But it's amazing though, when you make a post and if it's a beautiful female or if it's, a handsome dude or whatever the case may be, how much more, traction that post is compared to a post that, maybe doesn't have that same type of eye candy, if you will.
Look at, I've worked out here a couple of times, but look at the F45 gyms.
Yeah,
on how
there
they
you
blow
go.
up because they have attractive girls and
That's
guys
it.
as their trainers and put
There
it on
it
social
is.
media.
Yep.
So
it is.
yeah, I think
you're exactly right.
Interesting business model. I mean, it's working for them. But
Yeah. Yep.
I think I've used social media. I'm a big craft beer guy. I love a nice IPA, which I'm being here in Charleston for Christmas. I'm pumped to check out some of the local breweries again.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think social media is like craft beer. You can have 1, 2, maybe 3, but if you have 5 or 6, 9% craft beers, you're going to wake up feeling horrible and negative because it's so strong. I think that's how social media is pictured as well.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a great analogy. I mean, I don't spend all my time. In fact, I need to spend more time posting. There's definitely, it's like anything in life, man. I mean, moderation, right?
Yeah.
Just moderation, man. Everything, just do things in moderation. Balance.
For sure.
Balance. Some people can afford to do more. I can tell you if things are slipping in your life and you're spending a lot of time on social media, you're probably not in balance. You probably need to stay away from social media a little bit more and focus on the priorities. Because, unless you're an entrepreneur that's solely using social media to grow your business, then you probably don't need to be on it as much as you're on it.
Yeah, I agree. What I really want you to hone in on the 4 principles that we were talking about before we went through this. I know we have them both written down, but I know the 4 principles are great and you're really passionate about them. So
yeah, no, absolutely. So, I mean, I've had the fortunate opportunity to speak to age ranges from 8 to 80.
Wow.
And the 4 key principles really don't change. The delivery does. But for everybody out there listening, this really is the core of my message. And the principles start with number 1, mindset. We touched on it a little bit earlier. And it's the whole attitude of this is happening for me versus what, and I'm guilty of it too. Everybody is. When things happen wrong, maybe you didn't get that job, or maybe, you wanted to move and things didn't work out, or, the relationship didn't work out. The easy way to look at things is to say, why is this happening to me? Why does this happen to me? I didn't get that job. I deserve that job, or I've done all this with this relationship and then it didn't work out. Why is this happening to me? I've learned throughout life's hurdles that there are greater things in front of you. So you need to have that mindset of this is happening for me. I promise if you do that, it will unlock greatness. I really do. Number 2 is to be kind to everyone. And that's just simple. Just because they drive a nice car or just because they are wearing a smile on their face does not mean that they are happy. So be kind to everybody, no matter what. That's just that's a given. And then my third is to not be afraid to seek help or counseling. And I struggled through this, and I talk about this a lot, especially with young men out there, because I think that there's a little bit of that macho-ness and that counselors don't work, but it's just like any other relationship. I was 0 for 2 in counselors, and I fell in that trap saying it didn't work, it doesn't work. But really, it's just like any other relationship, and you have to find a counselor who you trust and respect, and then it actually does work. You will absolutely get benefit from it. And then the fourth and final principle is to not be afraid to show them the mirror. And we've talked about that too. I mean, especially high school kids, college kids, young entrepreneurs who've maybe recently moved away and their family is not close by. They're not, the family's not going to see the day-to-day changes or observe a certain pattern behaviorally that may be going on. So it's up to those around us to really, call friends out for potential signs of them going down that wrong path. And I mean, unfortunately, you have to be willing to lose a friendship, but in doing so, you may save a life. That is the bottom line. So you can't be afraid to have that stern conversation. And you have to know going into it that, you may lose that friendship, but, again, you may save that life, and it's definitely worth it.
Yeah. I love those 4 principles. I think, like you mentioned, they work for any age from 8 to 80. You're never too early or too late to implement these. Yeah. And I think 1 and 2, mindset and be kind, are the more simpler ones to implement. But I think 3 and 4, it gets a little bit more difficult because people are afraid to seek help. And then people are afraid to tell their friend or family member, what actually is happening.
Absolutely.
So definitely want to encourage everyone out there to definitely focus on 1 and 2, of course, but also spend time on 3 and 4, even if it seems more difficult.
Yeah.
So what is like one word, and I always like to ask this question, that you would describe just, success and overcoming an adversity? If you could just pinpoint one word out there, what do you think that would be and why?
Well, it's the word that I've kind of lived on for a number of years. It's my internet password. It's perseverance. Perseverance, man. I love the ocean. Life is very similar to that of the ocean. It's a series of waves. You can't get too high when you're on the top of a wave, and you can't get too low when you're on the bottom of a wave. You got to stay medium and know that things are going to happen unexpectedly that you're not going to like. They're not going to align with what you think should be happening, but you have to persevere through those times. And when you do, and you persevere, and whether it's your career, whether it's outlasting competitors in an entrepreneurial space, BDVibez is doing that right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to outlast. I'm going to persevere through times where I could just close up shop. It'd be easier for me to close up shop. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to persevere through difficult times. Young entrepreneurs, you're going to get hit by that. You're going to get hit by that with career goals and getting promotions. You've got to persevere through that, and you use those stories and those thoughts and feelings to overcome the next time when that next hurdle is up. And it's perseverance, man.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. And I think too, with perseverance, it's the competition's hardest at the bottom.
Yeah.
But persevering, you're going level 2, level 3, then you get to like level 9 and 10, and then the competition's much slimmer because everyone else has already quit.
Right.
Yeah. So definitely keyword right there, perseverance.
One thing I just, on a side note, as I think about this, from a business standpoint, one of the things that I learned early on is there's competition out there, right? I'm a competitive dude. So my first inclination as to how I handle the competition was to like battle them, right? And like beat them.
Like 300 Spartan level.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
But what I learned, what's actually way more effective, is to be friendly with the competition. And and actually try to join forces and create more of a movement and create a larger wave for the greater good of both organizations or multiple organizations versus battling. I mean, Nectar Sunglasses have been they've been great. You know, they're the first ones. We met at Party Under the Bridge or whatever it was called. I used to sponsor all those things, and they were like, they welcomed me with open arms, you know, and they didn't see me as a threat, even though they have hats and merch and stuff like that we compete with. They liked the vibe, and they liked the whole business idea. So I think that's crucial too, man, as from a business standpoint.
Yeah.
So
and
side note.
Yeah, for sure. I think everyone should work together again for the greater good. Like, you know, promote their vision and not just try to get so scrappy all the time. And, you know, again, that goes back to what you said. Number 2, be kind.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the principles right
there. It's the truth. Yep.
So what is next for, you know, BDVibez right now?
We just launched 6 new products. It's our winter gear. So they're beanies and some kind of more winter type snapbacks. So that's what we're doing right now. And we're going to launch some jerseys, some reversible jerseys. So, I mean, we're still trying to just come out with, you know, merch. I got a unique style, I think. So, you know, it's, I don't go with kind of all the trends. But they're hot items. So we try to bring flavor to it. A lot of it's loud, a little loud, I would say. Got some spice to it. But you know, what we're doing a lot of right now too is partnering with organizations. You mentioned breweries, so King's Calling Brewery. We're doing all their gear. Deco nightclub in Charleston, we're doing theirs. So, you know, we're partnering with baseball teams and just spreading BDVibez as much as we can. Actually, I was in the airport. Where was I? I was in Florida somewhere. I was in Orlando, Florida. And I saw a BDVibez hat when I was sitting at my gate.
Way.
Yeah, so it was great. You know, I took a picture. I was like, I hope this guy doesn't see me taking a picture of this hat. But I saw him from afar. And it was a BDVibez hat.
Wow.
You know, so how cool is that?
How'd that feel?
You know, it was great. Yeah. And I mean, I get texts from people. Pawleys Island last weekend, one of my buddies was up there, and he was at this random bar, and he took a picture of the car in front of that, a BDVibez sticker on it.
Wow.
You know? So it's just cool, man. I mean, you know, we're trying to always bring out some new things. I mean, we've got some business ideas that we may look into spring and summer, but right now we just ripped some awesome beanies and some hats.
Yeah. Thank you for this beanie, by the way.
Yeah, man,
winter
absolutely.
season, I'm going to have to be wearing this for sure.
Yeah, man, tonight, it's going to be cold.
Yeah, definitely. Well, where can people connect with you? You know, if they want to get some hats, want to just, you know, shoot you a message, tell you they like the episode, or just had some questions, where can people connect?
BDVibez, it's B as in boy, D as in dog, V as in Victor, I as in igloo, B as in boy, E as in elephant, Z as in zebra. And it's Instagram, Facebook, BDVibez.com. And I answer all the emails. My email address is Bryan with a Y, BRYAN at BDVibez.com. But yeah, I mean, connect with us, follow us, share us, just like your all's business. And, you know, I'm happy to follow you all back and grow this thing together. I love what you're doing. So, you know, I need to listen in and hear more, but you know, we're all moving at a rapid pace. But if we can all join forces, man, it'll just be a giant snowball effect. For sure, a giant great snowball.
Yeah,
on that note,
absolutely. Sure. And everyone out there, if you guys use code podcast until March, you'll get 20% off your order. So make sure to check it out. I'll put the link to the website in the show notes. But again, 20% off. Until March. So be sure to check out the BDVibez website. Get yourself some good gear, either finishing off winter or going into spring season with some new swag under your belt. So absolutely. Well, Bryan, man, thank you so much for taking the time to spend with me. Thanks for inviting me into your home. Yeah, man, absolutely. It's a good place to do an episode. Not my normal studio, but this couch is a lot comfortable than a metal chair. So there you go. No, I love what you're doing. Congratulations on all the success. There's no doubt with your positivity and what you've got going on, man, the sky's the limit. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do next. Man, I appreciate that so much. And everyone out there and the listeners, thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of Next Level Minds. As Bryan mentioned, he gave you the information to connect with him. I'll put some links in the show notes. Just to summarize this episode briefly, the 4 principles really stuck out to me. Mindset, be kind, don't be afraid to seek help when needed, and don't be afraid to really show people the mirror and reach out to them if they need help. Depression, unfortunately, is a huge topic in today's society. But again, I just can't hone in enough to don't be afraid to seek the help out there, and just try the best to stay in that positive mindset, because, if we can empower this together, we can really start impacting some lives out there. And I want to thank everyone for tuning into this week's episode, and I hope you all have a great rest of the week.